I made a commitment to the American people that I would end this war. Today, I've honored that commitment.
It was less than 2 weeks ago when the president told ABC, yes, when he was asked, are you committed to making sure troops stay until every American who wants to get out gets out? He said yes.
He's evacuated 5,500 American citizens and their family members.
What is the Taliban? Are they now our frenemy? Are they our adversary?
Well, it's hard to put a label on it, in part because we have yet to see what they are going to be now that they are in control.
Anytime that a woman decides to be in a relationship with a man, she's making a sacrifice and a commitment knowing that she's dating her oppressor.
I would like to apologize on behalf of Generation X for Nicole Wallace saying frenemy about the Taliban. Holy hell, it's like Phoebe from Friends as the National Security Advisor.
Can you imagine we have people literally calling the Taliban our frenemy?
No adult should be saying
Like
frenemy anyway.
Like they're middle school girls?
No adult should be. Oh, my good. Are they friends with benefits yet? Oh, my goodness. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not going to be angry. That's fine. Once again, President Fuckface had to start today 4.5 hours late with another presidential address that was absolutely
1:30, 3:30. What's the difference,
right?
Really,
Which is just his most latest version of not being anywhere where he should be at times when he should be, and so he essentially threw it all out there, the kitchen sink, whatever. Rousing speech with lots of yelling as well as why. Well, they said that we couldn't. They said that we had to be forever war. They said that we did it. Well, mission is accomplished. We got them out. We did this. We did. You're on ISSK. You're on notice. It was a absolute pile of horse bleep. There's nothing to bleep. It was, to me, it was actually, in a sense, my final farewell to this entire administration. The fact that he went out there today and had the most comprehensive, he didn't leave anything on the floor. They said, you know what, guys? Take every bit of messaging we have. Ron Klain said it, and he said it, and they said, and just put it in his speech. Make sure that at times that he is really passionate and loud, and have him just throw it all out there. We need to hit them with a tsunami of content and messaging, so that we hit them with so much, so that they'll look at each other, Americans and journalists, and say, wait a second, this is the biggest historic F-up we've ever seen, right? Because they're really having a big celebration at the White House. And that's what it was for. It's just persuasion. It's supposed to intimidate you.
Well, right, but did they think? I mean, I'm confused because he really didn't give us any new content. It was all recycling the same things he said before, rhetorically, right? You know, like, we had to get out of the 20-year war. I wasn't going to pass this on to a fifth president. Trump made the decision. I just followed through. There was no other option. Our only other option was to put in tens of thousands of troops. How many more Americans have to die in Afghanistan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, but it was like they just gave us all the same things again. And they were like, maybe the tone is the problem? Maybe the American people didn't believe us last time because he seemed too sad and confused the other times he went out there and said this stuff. So let's just have him go out and say the exact same things, but in a loud, angry voice. Right. And maybe now people will believe them.
Right. Is
that the logic? Because I don't get it.
That's why it's crazy, because they at no point are they adjusting. At no point are they adjusting. It's simply the same talking points again and again, even though the realities on the ground have changed. So none of this stuff is operable anymore. They can't keep saying it. You can't keep when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded. At some point, the guy said, "All right, 64,000 feet, closing this, 55,000 feet, closing this, rudder booster release, NASA control," and then it exploded, and everybody watched it. And then the NASA guys said something like, catastrophic conditions in the air. It wasn't really funny, Alice. What is wrong with you?
Your impression is funny.
Well, that's kind of what they did. The NASA guys were like, they had to change the messaging because the play-by-play now needed to change drastically because the shuttle mission was now a very different mission. It was in a lot of pieces, making its way to the ground. And even though, much like with the Biden thing,
be funny and then blame me for laughing.
Much like, I'm not being funny, Alice. Much like with the Biden thing, you know, the people were watching it, and the people knew that this was not supposed to happen. This was looking much more like a firework, a bottle rocket, than a shuttle. But at least mission control was being accurate about what's going on.
Acknowledged that there was an issue
with
happening.
Biden, they're still talking about the shuttle. Yes, absolutely. It's incredible what we did here. And, after all this time, going 80,000 feet in the air and this speed, etc. So it's really just this attempt to gaslight. And that's why I think that I've never seen anything like this or heard anything like this. And that's
Imagine him blaming, too, the people that are still there because he warned them to leave. That one shocked me.
He blamed everybody. Everybody took a hit of this thing. It was 1,000 straw men, 1,000 patsies. They decided that it's your fault, your fault, your fault. And that's why instead of ever acknowledging, I'm sorry, you had a catastrophic disaster happen in Afghanistan. And you had, as a direct result, you left American troops prone to attack because you dropped the ball and they blew them up.
Well, and this is just getting started now,
and
too.
you still, without ever, just getting started, without ever taking the hit like you should have, you go in front of their parents while the messaging's still happening from your Department of Defense guy, from Psaki, etc., acting as if nothing had happened whatsoever, acting as if that we're getting these many people out. It's a historic airlift, and you go in front of the parents of the dead soldiers, and you expect them to not spit in your face? No, there's been no acknowledgement. I've never seen anything like this. And I don't know if it's lack of imagination or they're insane people, or it could be that when you've got a party here that prides itself, that's told by the media how good they are, how wonderful they are at messaging. Yeah. When you've got this administration, wow, Obama's so cool under pressure. Wow, he stays cool. And the fist bump thing, and the West Wing coolness of it all, and they're just not used to. They can't imagine. Wait a second, we're the special ones. We're good at this. Jen Psaki says to the press when she's done, all right, guys, let's do it all again tomorrow. Just like the West Wing, and then the credits come up. And then you see that they have this massive on their hands. It's nothing. It's a total disaster. There's nothing redeeming about the way Afghanistan ended. It's simply awful. And for them to not adjust whatsoever means that they're not capable of doing it for a mental health reason, or they're just that cynical that they're saying all that matters is the midterms now. We got to make sure fundraising is up for the Democrats running in this.
Well, I think you're onto something, because I think that they believe that their job is politics. I think that they believe that what they are in Washington, D.C. to do, what their job function is to get elected and to continue to get elected. And it's just beyond the scope of their imagination to believe that there's any part of their job that extends beyond that. That there are parts of their job that have to do with competence and executing plans and actually doing things.
I understand that, Alice, but they're not playing to, or maybe they are, maybe this is the problem. Their audience isn't the other big table at the Capitol Grill down the street from the White House of inside Beltway people. They know that ultimately their audience are the voters, the American people. That's why they write these speeches that, kowtow and condescend and do all these things. And that's why Bill Clinton used to do this and look in people's eyes, because it was effective and they knew it. That's why the empathy thing for Biden, they poll test. They know that human beings at the end of the day are affected by what these guys say and do.
Yeah, but I think that they believe that it's about, what they say and how they say it and connecting with voters and messaging and polling, and not about what they actually do. I think that it's shocking to them that there's not a way to spin something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think they're so wrapped up in the machinations of Washington, D.C. that, that they don't see that there's actually something real happening in Afghanistan that's going to affect the election. They think the stuff that affects elections is like the presidential debates and what they go out there and say and like the bills that they pass and the speeches that they give. And if they give a really nice speech and like act good and wear a nice suit and look right at the podium and go out to dinner with the right lobbyists and whatever other stupid things, raise the right amounts of money and go through the motions, that it will all be fine. That like as long as you message well and you use fancy words, that like you'll be able to, that it doesn't matter what actually happened in Afghanistan. And they still believe that, and they could still be right. They might be able to spin their way out of this eventually. It's a long time until 2022, but it seems to me right now that the mismatch is between reality and their ability to, you know, tell the American people what's going on and what a great job they're doing. Like, they believe that if you go out there and say what a great job you're doing all the time and you give a nice speech and you look really presidential while you do it, you know, this is what confused them about Trump, is Trump didn't look presidential and he was all like divorced and getting with porn stars or whatever stuff he had in his past. And like, that's the stuff that's supposed to matter. It's supposed to be about character and decency and, you know, knowing the right people in DC and stuff. It's not supposed to be about whether or not you actually do stuff competently. And they can't figure that out. It's like they can't imagine it.
And that voice is important to have in an administration, but that's one person at the table. That can't be everybody at the table.
Yeah, but that's the whole administration.
Right, but that's fine. But then that's the problem with having the communication shop run an administration and simply making it about messaging.
Well, and the problem with having a person whose brain is tapioca at the helm of the whole thing, because in a campaign you can do that. You can do what's the thing, the Weekend at Bernie's, or that thing where they like shuffle the person around, and like that's what the campaign was. And you can do that in a campaign because a campaign is a show that you're trying to like convince people, like, look how presidential he is. But you can't run a country with that.
I think that they know this is terrible messaging. I think that they know. I think it's all they have, and I think that's why. And this is my Substack that we just finished analysis editing, or just edited.
It's social. That's on Twitter.
All this was all the content ever in favor of what Biden did. And so it gives people who want to write something positive about him tonight, it gives those people ammo to do it. With rhetorical ammo. There's nothing to any of it. It gives people, the pundits, something to say. They can just echo what Biden said, even though it's weak. And it gives op-ed writers and bloggers and, other Substackers something to put in there. But it is...
Well, yeah, you can say it all day, but it's not true.
Like, I have never, other than the fact that this crisis is not over, and it's active and something could happen at any time, I've never had, let me change that up. Since the early 90s, I have not had a time where I was so disgusted with the president that I just turned it off. And I just turned off Clinton. I also was much younger and had other things to do back then.
Not that many other things to do.
Well, they were not successful endeavors, but I thought I had other things to do.
I heard about your trip during the Clarence Thomas hearings.
Right, but that was Bush.
Okay, that was Bush stuff.
That
makes sense. Yeah, because he's a Republican.
Thing.
But that's the early 90s. That's what I'm talking about.
So with Biden here, first of all, I will consider him, at this point, this is the most altogether vile administration I've ever seen to a person. It's horrible what they're doing, and I feel like we're almost complicit because we're watching this crime. It's so disrespectful to Americans. We've watched them almost criminally abandon countrymen for politics. Stick to it, get busted down and exposed, but stick to it anyway to do it. And we've watched it, and now we're just waiting for people to die.
Well, yeah, and we don't really know how many people, because initially the estimates of how many Americans were in the country were like 11 to 15,000? And now we've gotten out 5,500 Americans, and we're saying there's 100 left? I mean, that something's not adding up, right? What happened to the other 10,000 Americans that they were saying were there?
What's this? Oh.
What?
Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
Huh. Interesting.
What is it? What's going on with you over there?
A listener listened to the show today.
Okay.
Sent me a long message
Okay.
on Facebook about her granddaughter who just started college
Okay.
and how proud of her she is.
Mm-hmm.
I said, thanks so much. She sounds like an extraordinary... I have a typo, of course. I'm a jerk. Thanks for listening the other day. She sounds like a great and impressive woman. So she sent me a bunch of pictures of her high school graduate daughter in all gowns and things and just starting college. And now I have all of those pictures, Alice.
Mm-hmm.
Are 5. Message was unsent. She sucked back the pictures.
Oh.
What's the insinuation there?
I don't know. I don't get it.
Is the insinuation that I was going to objectify said young lady?
I don't know, Tom. I don't know.
You know me. Would I do that?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Alice! All right, let's move right along to our TikToker since it makes sense. I don't want to do... I'm done with bite. I can't...
Yeah,
what I'm saying is that I'm essentially almost done. This administration is over as far as I'm concerned.
I think the only other comment I have is I did think it was notable today is that Psaki was asked during the press briefing after his speech if they're preparing for hostage situations. And she said...
The administration preparing for worst case scenario in some circumstances, hostage situations?
Look, our focus right now is on making clear to the Taliban and to others in Afghanistan that we are going to get these American citizens out, that we are going to hold them to that account, and that's our focus.
So would you say that that was an answer either way on the hostage situation?
No.
That means they're preparing to have hostage situations.
Well, I think that they are... I think they have been petrified for the last 3 weeks about the situation they're in. They've been whistling past the graveyard, and now they don't even want to. I bet you in that cabinet room, nobody even say the word hostage. Just like last week, they probably said, nobody say the word stranded. We're not going to strand anybody. Nobody even say the word hostage. Don't even say it so it's out there. Certainly don't say it so the Taliban can hear it, or Al-Qaeda can hear it, or ISIS-K can hear it. No, I think they are scared to death of the situation they're in.
But doesn't that just show you that they absolutely know that it's not over? They know that it's a ridiculous joke, that they're, sending statements to the Taliban that say, please let people leave the country freely.
Right.
After they just had to put people through all these security checkpoints.
It's remarkable that what happened here, this endeavor, was a cataclysmic disaster. They can talk about, it really is remarkable how many flights they got. Who gives a flying F about flights? Nobody cares about flights out of places. No American cares about numbers of flights out of places. Wow, that's amazing. All those planes, the flights out. Nobody cares about that. They care about the people who didn't get out and the monsters now surrounding them. That's what matters. And for them to treat it like, like an ink cartridge didn't arrive from FedEx, and to say, everything went perfect. Yeah, of course, there was a tiny setback. No, it's a serious thing. This is a disaster. They treat it like just a small thing. There was a blip. No. The flights going out safely, those are the blip. The disaster is the reality.
Right. And the Biden saying today that 90% of Americans who wanted to get out got out. Well, first of all, it's not 90% of the ones you originally told us were there. That's not a number that we're citing anymore. It's about a third of the number that you originally said were there that you're not citing anymore, which I imagine is why we're qualifying it. Wanted to get out, but
how many Americans did they get out who didn't want to get out?
Is that
no, I want to stay.
Is that like a good ratio? Like, okay, well,
he tells horse bleep stuff all the time.
The Taliban only killed 10% of the people that they wanted to kill. Big win for us. Like, how is that? How are they saying this with a straight face?
He's also a smack talker. He says that. He also brought up Bo again today, and then said, "Well, I shouldn't."
You know what though? We all know people who
I'm not sure though. Is Bo alive? I don't know. I'm never here, so I'm not sure.
We all know people who've died of other things not related to the Kabul airport. right? And it's not like I don't get why he keeps dragging that out there. Like, I know what the people are going through. Stop. It's unbelievable. It's so, like, I don't go, yeah, my grandmother died once. It was really sad. Like, what? How do you say that to the grieving parent? He's so terrible, so terrible. And the fact that they're doing this with the, like, we got 90% of the people out, and now they're pretending that people are just going to be able to freely leave the country because they asked the Taliban really nicely. Well, then why did we
Being the father of a Army major who served for a year in Iraq, and before that was in Kosovo. I'm sorry.
Unbelievable.
The first interview I've done it.
These are all Bo mentions.
My Bo, my son, he made me make a promise. He said, Dad, I know no one loves me more than you. And he said, Dad, I know how much you love me. And he said, Dad, I know no one in the world loves me more than you do. And he said, Dad, I know no one loves me in the whole world more than you do. And he said, but Dad, promise me you're going to be okay. Promise me you're going to be all right. Promise me, Dad, you're going to be okay.
Let me tell you one thing. I'm not saying that Joe Biden is full of bleep about everything he talks about Bo about, but if there ever was a politician who would be full of bleep about it all, it would be Joe Biden. I know. Absolutely.
I mean,
let's not talk about Bo. Okay, forget it. You know, it's fine.
I feel like, I did want to say one more thing about Afghanistan, which is that it's ridiculous that we're now pretending like everybody's just going to be able to leave the country. Like Blinken said the other day, like, people leave dangerous places all the time and come home. No big deal. Well, then what did we just go through all this with the airport for, where 13 Marines died? What were we doing here with the largest, most complex and dangerous airlift in human history if people are just going to be able to leave the country freely? Obviously, they know that that's not true because they just got a bunch of people killed trying to get people to leave the country at all. They know that the Taliban's not going to, like, start running commercial flights out of the airport like a normal country. Why are they even acting like this? It's just so insane. But yeah, you're right. We should move on from this. We should talk about how I learned about how oppressed I am today. That's what we should talk about.
All right, let's go to
the real problems in life.
TikTok. This young lady's name is Lavina Evangel.
This is probably going to piss off a lot of people.
Your vocal burn? Because it already does. Already right there, I think you're a dumb.
But a relationship between a man and a woman is inherently unequal. And that goes for any relationship where someone is deciding to date their oppressor. Just like all white people have racism brainwashed into them, all males have misogyny brainwashed into them. And any male who claims not to be a misogynist is a misogynist, because a self-aware man knows that he has it brainwashed into him. And any time that a woman decides to be in a relationship with a man, she's making a sacrifice and a commitment knowing that she's dating her oppressor. Almost all women have sexual trauma and emotional abuse trauma, literally just from society. And she's taking a risk in being with you and making a commitment to help you undo your brainwashing. Now, of course, I'm not saying that people shouldn't date the opposite gender, but a lack of awareness can cause problems.
Alice?
Well, obviously, this is completely true. I've had to live in a misogynist society, so you should thank me for taking the time out of my busy schedule of being oppressed.
There's some truth to that. Most men are misogynists in a way, to some level, or not. There's no doubt about that. Okay,
but I don't think that. I think that sexual trauma is serious, and that we shouldn't say that everybody who exists in society has experienced sexual trauma just from the patriarchy existing around them, because I think that that makes light a little bit of sexual trauma.
Right. No, and that, I mean, obviously she doesn't know anything. And I don't understand. That is really the wonderful trick of social media.
But, I mean, doesn't it just show you how dumb the whole philosophy of all this, like, critical theory stuff is, that it just reduces everybody down to oppressed and oppressor?
Yeah.
You're dating your oppressor. Well, that's because we're individual people and not just members of classes that are oppressed or oppressors. Like, it doesn't, you can't reduce people down to these stupid privilege categories and have your life make sense. Because if that's all people are, like, why would a woman pair up with somebody who's from an oppressive class? Who's
money? I don't know. Why would you? I don't know. I mean, you don't have money unless you're turned on by burnt orange minivans.
I get to be
which
on a
you are.
podcast.
Really, that's all it takes, huh? But there is. I mean, I do think that there is certainly you make a deal when you get in a relationship. With kids, then you've got a common enemy, so it's different. So it's a little bit different. But when you get in a relationship with somebody, then there's a negotiation table. You give up some stuff, and you don't give up other stuff. And it's generally, in my case, obviously, I win, and you lose. So sometimes
I don't lose. I feel like I won.
I know, and I'm thrilled about that.
I don't think I'm oppressed.
No, I know, but I mean,
do you feel that I'm oppressed?
No, not at all. You have way too much freedom, Alice.
Are you my oppressor?
I guess so. It's.
I think the kids oppress me more than you do.
Of course it is. Of course they do. I don't know. I'm too busy to know how to oppress anybody, or even my inner white supremacist. I don't know how to activate that. And if I do learn how to, I don't have enough time to make it do anything. Can it make money? I don't know. But I mean, it's obviously that she's just crazy. And also, you know what? I'm not going to do no more. I don't care. You know what? I'm in love with her. That's what I'm going to say. I love Levine Evangel, Alice.
Okay.
I mean, it is. I do know women who have thought that every time a woman and a man are together, that it's an oppressive relationship for serious. And there are some feminists who in the 80s and 90s absolutely believe that. They believe any time a man and a woman were intimate, it was an assault.
Yeah, I've heard that opinion too.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, it matters. Now because guys are so feminized now, it's hard. I would say at one point, 20 years ago, I would have said that there are some women who just have a bleeping problem. But now there are guys guys in this thing I played today for in Connecticut, one of the colleges, all the colleges really, but one of them was having therapy dogs in there. Mm-hmm. And of course, you've got all these dumb college kids who need therapy dogs.
I was feeling stressed and I wanted to see puppies since I love puppies a lot. They're so cute.
Feeling stressed, right? Okay, you're 19 years old. You've got everything in the world. You've got no worries. If you're 19, you have zero worries.
It just kind of reminds me of my dog since I have a puppy in my house too, and I just saw her yesterday. But and then I love dogs in general.
Okay.
And they just
These are
gave me
19-year-old
happiness.
women, okay? 19-year-old women, college freshmen, etc. And they love their dogs, and that's fine. And so you want to tell them that they're anxious and they've got worries, etc. Even though they don't really at all. That's fine. You can tell them that, and that's fine. When I was that age, we had that for girls as well. Could feel that they were anxious. Not like now, certainly. But let me tell you something. This is what we didn't have. We didn't have this when I was 20 years old.
They've really done their best to make us feel at home here, bringing in puppies, doing everything. They've really been great about that the last week.
I like the squeaky toy in the background.
That dude is a big, brawny dude, athletic dude. Talking about the puppies they brought in for him so he can hug them and kiss them. They didn't have that when I was 20. There was no guy saying that when I was 20 at all.
Well, I am proud, though, of the students at Amherst College because we talked about this yesterday, about their insane new guidance for the beginning of the school year, which includes double masking indoors, no in-person dining. And some students have actually pushed back. They wrote a letter to the college and said that the guidelines are not based on any given data, have been developed without student input, are significantly stricter than peer institutions, and are in conflict with the CDC guidelines. So the school's not listening to them, obviously. They're still not allowed to do anything. They're not allowed to go into the town except on personal business and to pick up takeout meals. They're not allowed to go to restaurants, cafes, or bars. And they did, though, cave on that masks outdoors. They can they're only requiring the mask outdoors at high density gatherings over a sustained time period. So not for, just walking by yourself outside. They've decided to relax on that one key aspect there. But Duke University has also been doing some COVID restrictions because they're having a surge. In the first week of classes, they have a vaccine mandate also, by the way. But in the first week of classes, 304 undergraduates, 45 graduate students, and 15 employees tested positive for COVID-19. All but 8 of these individuals were vaccinated, and the vast majority are asymptomatic. A small number have minor cold and flu-like symptoms, and none have been hospitalized, according to the university.
That's not a lot of hospitalizations.
Well, apparently it is, though, because the Duke administrators announced new guidelines in an email saying this surge is placing significant stress on the people, systems, and facilities that are dedicated to protecting our health, safety, and the ability of Duke to fulfill its educational mission. So I don't know how exactly it's placing a strain on their health systems when a few people have cold symptoms, but apparently that's putting strain on them because they've now added new rules, including masks required in all indoor and outdoor locations unless exercising alone, eating or drinking, or not around others. Indoor group seating at campus dining facilities is suspended. Students have been advised to eat outdoors as much as possible. And professors can teach their undergraduate classes remotely for the next 2 weeks. And the student activities will be limited. So they're handling their surge there. The students aren't thrilled about it, but the Duke says, since they're having a surge, they have to take extreme measures. So, but it seems to me that a surge of asymptomatic vaccinated people is exactly what you would want.
I think so. I'm not sure, though. I'm told that that's the worst thing in the world, even them.
Because doesn't the CDC not even recommend testing vaccinated people, because asymptomatic vaccinated people, because
CDC. Whoa, is that me?
Nope.
Is that you?
That was me.
Was it you? Are you sure? I think that's me.
Oh, was it? Oh, I heard it in my headphones, I guess. So yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's from the Center for Immigration Studies, Alice, if you'd like to know.
Sorry. But anyway, to move on to a story about a topic I know is extremely close to your heart, which is
can I
okay.
just put something in here?
Mm-hmm.
So my brother's with us today, staying with us for a few days.
Yes.
And other than the fact that he's also my brother and fun and good guy and all that stuff, 2 things. One, he's a safety over the top in handling the kids. We finally have enough players to contain the kid damage somewhat because he's over the top. He's one extra player while you and I are busy doing stuff. 2, a master dicer of onions. Have you had his onions? Mm-hmm. They're tiny, Alice.
Yeah.
They're tiny little molecular-sized onions. They're wonderful.
I guess it's a gift that he has.
Yes.
That's great.
Wow.
No, I'm
Nothing,
glad.
huh?
Well, I think it's good.
Jeez, well, downplay the onions. That's fine.
I think the onions are great. I had some diced onions yesterday with the cheese and crackers. They were delicious. It was excellent. I love his diced onions, honey.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want me to say about the diced onions? How shall I wax poetic about them?
Wax poetic, Alice.
That's all I have on diced onions. They're small squares of onion. I don't know what else to say about that.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful, and thank you, Alice, for being so supportive. I'm sorry.
But anyway, on to high school football, which I know is something that's really important to you.
Yeah.
I don't know why this story strikes me as so funny, but it does. But apparently these people made up a fake high school football team. Have you heard about this?
Is this in Salem or something like 30 years ago?
No, this is now. It's
really?
in Ohio, and it only gone, and then apparently they've been doing it for like a few years, but it only is getting attention now because they tricked ESPN into airing one of their games with like apparently a good high school football team.
Yeah.
They've been playing these like Texas teams, and they have a real schedule, but there's no high school. It's called Bishop Sycamore, and they claim to be like an online high school, but the players are like junior college people. They're all like 19 and 20 years old, and there's not a real high school program, and they're just like faking the whole thing.
Let me tell you what my favorite high school team in the country is, Alice. Take a guess.
I don't know.
Bishop Sycamore.
Bishop Sycamore, they're your favorite now?
Absolutely. Here. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Do whatever it takes, guys. Yeah.
So apparently the coach guy has been like arrested for fraud, and he's been bouncing checks to everybody. They like had the high school students just like living in a hotel, and they weren't even practicing. They're just like showing up for games.
Love it. I love a good con. Good for you guys.
They on ESPN to like air one of their games. How does that happen? How do like other teams play you and not know? How can that go on for that long?
I don't know. It's just magic, Alice. The Henrico City School Committee in Texas, Alice, they take the roll call of public commentary. I want to see if you get this. There we go.
You guys work for us.
This is one of the ladies who shows up yelling at the school committee, and then they call the other people.
You answer to us, and I'm asking that you do not pass this policy in Virginia.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas. We do appreciate you. Phil McCracken.
Anything?
Phil McCracken?
That's the next guy's name.
Is it?
Are you on to the Phil McCracken? Do you know what this means?
I heard about this.
Okay, so you know what it means. You don't have to pretend to be surprised if you're not. So you know.
I'm not surprised.
Okay, so you get that name.
I did know that. Yeah.
So you know what that name means.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Souk Mahidik.
What do you think that one's supposed to mean?
I don't know.
Alice, play along.
I don't know those words. I can't.
Yes, you do know those. You said those before.
I don't say those words.
Mahidik. Ophelia McHawk.
Oh, you Lexington prude. Forget it. God, this is why, Alice, I am a oppressive man, and I keep you in this relationship. Because much like the Taliban, I have learned that, whatever, I don't even know.
Trouble in paradise at the FDA, though. Did you hear about the FDA today?
No.
So 2 big vaccine people at the FDA are retiring. Like the people who approve vaccines. And supposedly it's because they're mad that the Biden administration stepped on them saying when there were going to be booster shots when they don't think they have the evidence for booster shots.
Interesting. I approve of this. Anytime we can get more chaos in this POS of a government, I am fine with that.
Mm-hmm. So there are these 2 top health officials leaving the FDA comes amid fierce debate and criticism over whether the Biden administration is jumping ahead of the scientific review process and announcing boosters for everybody available by the week of September 20th.
There you go. So we should get some boosters, Ked, right? I get it. 2 FDA people would matter unless there's something important coming.
I mean, it's like the major people who are in charge of vaccine research and approvals
great. We want them to leave.
Are quitting because they're mad at the Biden administration.
Good.
So.
Good for them. I want total chaos, Alice. The president has made politics less enjoyable than I ever thought it could be in global affairs.
Mm-hmm.
I want to burn it all down. Everything else that happens, I'm all for. I am for the Illinois Wickelpicks, the football team.
Bishop Sycamore.
Yep. I'm all for them. Let's get shirts. And I'm all for the people leaving the FDA. Let's do it. Let's do it all. And I'm all for any other kind of insurrection-y things that you want to do, or anybody wants to do, within reason, obviously, and not included the nation's capital or any government installation, because I don't wear antlers, NSA, and I don't really want a problem with anything. But I'm all for it. This is just a kind of a suck time in ways. For people, Alice. And I just, what do you say? What do you say anymore? I mean, what's going to happen? Where are we? How far? I hate to get back to it, but what happens if, 4 or 5 families are massacred?
What do you mean what happens? Biden will come out and tell us he's going to follow ISIS-K or some new group that he makes up to the ends of the earth to avenge the fallen, and then nothing's gonna happen. He'll drone a car and call it a day. That's what will happen.
There comes a point where you're too deeply invested in a lie and it's impossible to extract yourself. And unfortunately, I I think that they are so deeply in here, and for every day that passes, the more culpable in this dishonest and deadly ruse people in the administration are. And the further they're in, the harder it is to extract yourselves and come clean. And after a while, you just hope it goes away, hope it goes away, hope it goes away. And I don't know that it is. And
Well, yeah, I mean, the Biden administration was at that point a week ago where they were just, hoping that the story would simmer down and they could take credit for ending the war in Afghanistan. But this is what I don't get is like, how can you call this ending the war? Like, you didn't end the war. You just pulled the troops out of the country. Like, more than one group has to stop fighting to end the war.
Right.
Like, we didn't, quit in the middle of World War II and say we ended the war, because like Hitler would have still been there and Japan and everybody else. Like, it doesn't work like that. It takes both sides to agree to the war being over.
It sucks. Here's another thing that sucks. Chicago, Alice. Chicago police are investigating 2 separate carjacking incidents that happened just an hour apart within the same 4-mile radius Monday night. Hold on, don't make noise. Okay. Monday night. Both involved rideshare drivers being attacked with tasers and forced out of their vehicles as a pair of male suspects drove off. Imagine these thugs and punks now ruin rideshares for everybody. Those go away.
Yeah.
Because these guys have to tase people and steal them and kill them and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks again for reimagining the police. Well done, Chicago. Well done, Chicago. My goodness. Talk about a place where the leadership should feel as if every day is a defeat and is a disaster, and it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking for this story that relates to this with the crime because, amongst other things, the Democrats don't really seem to care about. Rising crime is one of them, too. And, like, you've been doing this, obviously, in Connecticut for a while with the carjackings and the stuff, and it made me think of this. But they're also having a problem, for example, in D.C., where they're having a spate of people being grabbed at gunpoint and driven to ATMs to empty their bank accounts. And I guess this person is a council member, Janice Lewis George in D.C., and she helpfully tweeted out some helpful tips on preventing crimes like this. She says, "Do not engage the individuals. Remember as many details as you can. Report incidents immediately after, and try to avoid traveling alone late at night or in the early morning hours." So, thanks, Councilmember Janice Lewis George. That seems helpful. It's just like the ones in Connecticut where they're like, just make sure you lock your cars and hope for the best. Don't approach anybody who tries to steal your vehicle. Like, this is now, speaking of hoping things go away, that's exactly what they're doing with this, too. They're just, hoping the Taliban is nice now, and they're hoping that criminals just stop stealing cars and kidnapping people and everything else. Like, oh, well, hopefully they stop tasing Uber drivers, Just try not to engage. Don't look them in the eye and maybe they won't attack you. I mean, is this what we're doing now? In terms of crime? Is this where we're going? Where they're just going to take this approach of like, make sure you lock your car. Don't go out alone at night. Like, this is like a council member saying this. This is the person who runs the government saying, like, here's what we're going to do about crime is you're not going to go out at night. Like,
yep.
How is that the strategy?
Yeah, that's like you said. That's
here's what we're going to do about Afghanistan is if you're an American, you should probably try and leave the country.
Just stay in. Come on. You know that. You know better. Come on, man. I wrote the bill.
Don't do that. That's scary.
I know. No, that's him. That's our guy. That's our adult president. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Alice. You know what? All will be well, guys. Everything will be well. Don't sweat it. We are having a good time despite this. I'm going to go have some more chopped onions downstairs, Alice. I'm still not losing weight. Sorry about that, by the way. Sorry about that. I'm still not losing weight. It's like I take away booze and pasta and I don't lose weight. Really? Then what's the problem?
I'm pretty sure I cleaned a bowl of pasta in the sink
that was
yesterday.
From a few days ago. That was my 1 a week allowable one, Alice. 1 a week. pasta. Although there may be another one tonight if I can manage to stay up late enough. I gotta hurt myself, Alice. I need to hurt myself a little bit. This all no hurting myself in any way. It's weird to me.
Maybe we can do a puzzle together or something.
Fuck you.
Evening.
And
Play
your puzzle.
Play
How about that?
Monopoly.
Don't you ever do a puzzle together. You wait till I stroke out, Alice, and I am moving around with a straw that I blow into, and I still will not want to play your frigging puzzle. Oh,
Jesus. I am going to torture you when you're breathing through it.
Just push me into a river, okay? I'll handle it myself. You know what? You can do it tonight, too, if you want to.
Thank you so much again, everybody, for joining us. You can find us on Twitter at BurnBarrelPod, Facebook.com/BurnBarrelPodcast, BurnBarrelPodcast.com, on Gab and Parler. We are at Burn Barrel Podcast. We are also still, for the moment, on YouTube until we get banned again. That's Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel there, and on Rumble as well, just in case you never know. BurnBarrelPodcast@gmail.com for the email.
C'est la vie.